June 8th, 1984.
February 4th, 1985.
January 11th, 2013.
May 22nd, 1978.
July 10th, 1985.
April 10th, 2015.
February 5th, 2014.
The first night I was a mom, I was in the hospital, and frankly, the only thing I really remember about it is that it's really impossible to sleep in a hospital. I was so tired because I'd had the baby early in the morning, and by nighttime I was really ready to go to sleep, and it was too loud and too many things going on. So that's not a very exciting answer, but that's what I remember.
The first night that you become a mother in the hospital, I think, is different than the first night when you're at home as a mother, because that's when you really feel like you're a parent and doing things on your own. And I just remember that night being so many new things, so many things that I was trying to think about all at once, and so many things that I felt like I needed to remember, and that the time just didn't really exist because you're not watching the clock, you're just watching your baby, and you're watching each other and trying to figure out if the other person knows what they're doing, and you both don't, and it's quite the experience. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. I don't think it's something that any mother forgets. The first night that I became a mother, like Lauren said, in the hospital, it's all joyous and wonderful because you have help and people are taking care of you, and it's just, you have this new baby and everything's lovey-dovey and great. But then you get home, it's okay, now what?
First of all, I'd been in labor for 23 hours, and so I was really, really tired and really, really, I think, dehydrated because they wouldn't let me drink anything. But the minute the baby comes out, you forget all of those things.
It was wild. So it was nothing about me at all. It was all about the baby, Kristen. It was a great night, but it was a big party.
My first night as a mommy was 2 weeks ago. And it was a very exciting and very stressful night. I feel like it was kind of one of those surreal times when you're thinking, have I done this right? Am I in the right place at the right time? Am I living my life the way I'm supposed to be living? And all the answers were yes, but it was still a lot of questions and a lot of, everything went really quickly. And so it kind of just came onto me very quickly. So,
My first night of being a mom, I was pretty much delirious because my labor lasted 27 hours and I didn't sleep for 2 nights. So it was really surreal, but I was pretty much very delirious and sleep deprived, but it was wonderful.
Well, what you guys have to remember is when I had kids, we didn't have that option of finding out what the gender was. There were sometimes if something was not quite right about the pregnancy, they would do an amniocentesis, I think it's called, and if they did that, I think maybe you could find out the sex of your child. I don't know, but it wasn't something that we routinely did, and so we didn't know.
We didn't want to know. I didn't want to prepare the nursery. I was going with neutral colors. I just didn't have any preference. No. Even though I have 2 older brothers, I didn't have a preference, so it didn't matter. And then it was 4 years till Adam, and it just didn't matter again. So it didn't matter. We didn't want to know.
We were surprised with our first one, and it was a boy, and then with our second one, I just needed to know if it was a girl because I just wanted to have a girl at some point, and I would have been perfectly fine with another boy, but I just wanted to know in advance what was going to be the case.
Back when my first one was born, it wasn't as common now to know the gender of your child, but we actually chose not to find out. So each time our boys were born, because we had 3 boys, we were surprised and we did not know what was coming.
No, I didn't want to find out the gender. Both my husband and I agreed that was not ours to know until the day of her birth. And it was a good surprise.
We decided not to find out the gender. We felt like finding out was like opening your Christmas presents early before Christmas. Just didn't make any sense.
We did not find out the gender, despite everybody heckling us about it. Joe and I both love surprises, so we wanted to be surprised, and it was a huge surprise. I actually thought for the whole time that I was carrying a boy, and when she came out, they let Joe declare the gender, and he actually said that she was a boy. So I was like, I do it! And then the doctor laughed and gave him another shot to recall it, and he said it was a girl. And I was just so smitten from moment one with her, even though it was really funny because I just swore she was a boy. So that's why we didn't find out, and we won't find out this next time either. We're pregnant with number 2, and it will remain a secret until delivery day.
Becoming a mother changes everything. It changes how you think about yourself, how you think about the world, how you think about everybody around you. It opens up rooms in your heart that you didn't know you had. It sometimes makes you crankier and grouchier, but mostly it makes you a better human being.
Oh, being a mom, it makes you think about way beyond yourself. When you're pregnant, you're just sort of absorbed about your body, and you're getting ready for the baby. But once the child comes, it's all about the baby, because they make sure they demand that. And so it's a wonderful, kind of scary, overwhelming thing.
I see life quite differently. In fact, I was very pro-choice before being, just on a political level, I was very pro-choice and very much about, yes, women should have the opportunity to choose what they do with their own bodies. And now I'm extremely pro-life now that I see that what I've created another, I created an organ in myself. I created a little human life, and to realize that the power and the amazing things that a human body can do, and that I have created something so much bigger than myself, and it's no longer about me. It's now completely about the opportunity to raise my little girl.
Becoming a mother changed me. Well, it was something I'd always wanted, even from when I was a tiny little girl. I always wanted to be a mom. So I felt fulfilled. That was what I always wanted to do, always wanted to be, and I guess you could call it a dream come true, because that's what I really wanted to be, was a mama.
I think it has given me a lot more patience. I feel I was patient before, but after having a toddler, I feel like I've grown a lot in patience and my capacity to love. I didn't expect that. She came out and I just instantly loved her more than I've ever loved anything.
Okay, some of the unexpected things about being a mom is and this is not original, a friend of mine said this. She said, I expected it would be hard and I expected it would be difficult and challenging, but nobody ever told me that sometimes it's just really boring. It's just, there's days when it's not all that exciting. And so that is one of the unexpected challenges that you deal with and learn how to, get yourself through the day while taking care of the kids, but also trying to keep your own sanity. Yeah, that boring thing was the most unexpected part. And it wasn't overwhelming. I don't mean to say that,
No,
but it was
no,
just
that's-
those days where you
no,
think
that's
it's
funny.
never going to be over.
That's really funny.
I think one of the biggest things that people tell you all about, but you can't really know until you experience it, is just how little sleep that you will get and how crazy you'll feel on that much or that little sleep. Everyone, kind of goes hand in hand with having a new baby. Oh, you're not going to sleep. But until you're actually in it and you feel like you probably could just doze off at any moment, and you do. I don't think that you can really appreciate the depth of what that experience is like.
Unless you're working, 36 hours.
Unless, you have some crazy weird job. Yeah.
The unexpected challenges of being a mom is that you are basically on all the time. Morning, noon, night, middle of the night, all the time you're on call. You kind of really don't get a break unless you pay somebody to relieve you of that duty of being a mom.
Well, when I first brought Kristen home from the hospital, I'd been in the hospital for 5 days because I'd had a C-section. And so I was pretty self-confident that this was going to be just fine. I'd been the neighborhood babysitter. I'd been the big sister. I knew about taking care of babies. I was very secure. And the first day home was just like, what happened? I am not in control at all. And I think it was a really good learning, one of the best things. I was an older mom. I was 32 when she was born. And so my life was established. I had a career. I had a wonderful home and a home life that was stable. And so I just thought that everything was just going to be fine. And it wasn't right away anyway. And then I went back to work in about 6 weeks. And then the challenge continued because it was really hard to have a career and raise a baby. Thank heavens for my mother-in-law. If she hadn't been available supporting us, life would have been much more difficult. But she was there to love both the girls and take care of them and allow me to have a career.
Unexpected challenges, they still abound.
Every day.
Every day is a new challenge. Right when we got home from the hospital, it was, figuring out, visitors, figuring out how to manage our time differently. Because, we were no longer in control. You're completely, submissive to this little tiny being, and she controls everything. And I really thought that I was going to be able to set my own schedule, and little did I know that you can't, right now anyways. So now 2 weeks later, we're dealing with challenges like, we have 2 dogs that need to be walked every day, getting our own exercise, making sure that we're in good condition so that we can take best care of our baby. So that is definitely a huge challenge.
One of the funny things from the start was that I just loved her so much and was so smitten with her. And we brought her home to a house full of people. And it was really funny because I totally had this mother bear instinct. And I was so scared that somebody was going to drop her or accidentally hurt her or bump into her. So that was really funny. I had this paranoia that something was going to happen to her because I just loved her so much. So I had to let that go. And the second was that even with a baby, just a little small baby in the room with your husband, it's just different. And I think that was an unexpected challenge that Joe and I really had to find more time just for us. And I think just having a baby, I didn't expect that to be a challenge until we had like 3 kids that were older. But even just having a little one did make a big difference.
Well, the most rewarding thing about being a mom is this incredible opportunity you have to be a part of creating a new life. And then once that life is here, to have the privilege of trying to raise this human being into the person that he or she is created to be. It's giving birth or being a parent is one of the most common things on earth. Everybody's done it for millions of years, however long, but it's still one of the most spiritually privileged things ever.
For me, it's watching your kids grow. It's I'm gonna get emotional. It's just watching who they become and how they become that. Not even as an adult, but even as a child. You know, what they do and what excites them, and just how they grow. That is the most rewarding thing.
I think motherhood is just full of surprises, and that's what makes it challenging, but that's also what makes it rewarding. And the surprises of all of the things that you're going to need and all of the things that you don't know, and then the surprises of, oh, I was going to do this with my day, but that's not going to happen anymore because there's so many things out of my control when you have another life to take care of that you can't control. But then there's all of these wonderful surprises and things that you would never ever even think of that this other person has come up with, and they're so creative and they're so joyful and
So
even
innocent.
so innocent. And even when they're not joyful, they say things and they do things and they just surprise you in the most beautiful ways, and it's just such a wonderful adventure to be a part of. And it's only been 2 years for me, and I already feel like it's just so wonderful to come home to them and to see them being themselves. It's just such an honor to be part of that.
Right now, the most rewarding thing of being a mom is that I have 3 amazing, amazing sons. And what I like right now is adult conversation with my adult sons. I love when they come and talk to me about their lives, their things going on with them, not necessarily advice they need, just talk to me about what's going on.
Oh, just the wonderful people that are in my life because I have 2 daughters. They're my best friends and the people that I enjoy spending time with. And I can't imagine not having them in my life. So yeah, those are the best challenge. That's the best part of being a mom. And her husband too. He's pretty awesome.
I think it's all the little things, the little smiles, the little when Lila brings a book over to me and wants me to read it and holds it up to me or holds her hands like this because she wants me to pick her up. It's just the little things that just kind of make your heart melt. And sometimes it's the funny things, like finding her splashing around in the toilet yesterday, that just make you stop and smile and thank the Lord that He gave this little treasure to me.
What were the teenage years like?
Ooh, teenagers.
What were the teenage years like? Well, I'm finding out what they were like now.
They were the hardest years for me. I think some people do better with small children and some people do better with teenagers, and I think I'm more comfortable with small children. So it was harder in teenage years. I was fortunate not to have anything too terrible that we had to deal with, but as kids are learning to grow up and be on their own and pulling away from you, and it's there's a lot of tension even in the best of situations, I think.
Well, so different for each child. So different. And different from every other teenager out there and every other mom or dad who experienced it. Because you watch or you see other people and you think, okay, it's going to be like this or it's going to be like that, and it's nothing like that. So each experience for each kid, with Lauren, I had a pretty easy teenage years. Pretty easy. She was a really easy, driven, focused adult, or a teenager, not adult, teenager. And really knew where she wanted to go with her life and really, went for that goal. With Adam, he had a few bumps. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in his high school years, and that made it really difficult for him, really difficult for me to parent him, really difficult for our family dynamics. So while it was difficult for all of us, I'm sure it was even difficult for you because she was in college at the time. It was difficult for Adam. I think he went inside of himself a little bit more than I would say normal in our family, because we're pretty outgoing and we're pretty, tell it like it is kind of family. But he went inside of himself a lot, and so I think while he did wonderful and he was a great teenage young man, for the most part, I just think it was more difficult for him than it was for Lauren. So different.
Well, the teenage years, you got to be on your toes. And you got to kind of let them go, but you got to rein them back in every now and again. And I'm not going to say they're easy, but if you've trained them up when they're young, then you can get through the teenage years.
They're telling me all the things that they did when they were teenagers. The advantage of having adult children is they start sharing all that stuff with you. So I thought they were pretty normal, but I'm finding out that they were very busy. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on I didn't know about. But no, actually I think we had a really good time. We did a lot of things together. They were with their dad half the time. And so when we were together, we had to really make use of our time. We had wonderful neighbors that we had that supported us and were family. And so they were part of our family and the kids growing up together. So teenage years were okay. They weren't as bad as everybody said they were going to be.
Well, this is the cliche, but you always want your children to be happy. We want them to be stable and centered and have a good spiritual heart, and we want them to be able to do the things that they want to do, and I guess that's most of it. We also hope that they really like us.
I don't think at any age you don't fear for them, for their safety. I mean, I'm always still, both of them 30 and 26, and I'm still saying, be safe. That's a big concern for the rest of their lives. But you just give it to the Lord, and because I can't control it. So you just do a lot of praying, a lot of letting Him know you're there, and if there's problems, you're there to help as much as you can.
I think even from the start of pregnancy, you just have to acknowledge the surrender that comes with being pregnant and then having a child. And like I said before about not being able to control them, there's so many things that you can't control, that you can't direct in the world and in their lives and what they do. And you do your best, and then you surrender the rest, because you'll go crazy if you try to orchestrate everything. And even then, something will still go wrong, and you learn that pretty quickly.
All right. Right.
Well, of course you want your children to be successful in the world. That's a good thing to think about. But my deep, deep heart is for all three of my boys to have a strong walk with the Lord. That's the most important thing to me, is that they would know the Lord and rely on Him and trust Him and believe in Him.
Fears and concerns. I think she addressed earlier about taking good care of herself now that she's a mom and allowing people to support her, and she's done a real good job of that. I know that she's married to a good person who's going to support her too, so that's an awesome, that just is, I know things are going to be okay there. But you always worry about your kids no matter what, and that's your job.
Oh gosh, yes. That's what parents do once their children leave home, is think about all the things they should have done differently. For my older child, I often think I sort of expected too much of him, to be too grown up and too self-sufficient, when maybe I should have been a little easier. And maybe for the second one, maybe the opposite. Maybe I would have pushed him to do a few more things that he wasn't quite comfortable doing. I was pretty protective of him. So I guess the great balancing out of stuff, which we never get to go back and redo.
I don't think I would have done anything different. I mean, sure, there's so many resources out there, so I could say if we had more money, we could have done this, or if we had more time, we could have done that. Those are the two biggies, time and money, especially when you're raising a family.
There's lots of things I would have done differently. But in retrospect, I feel like my husband and I did the very best we could with what we knew and trying to follow what God showed us in His Word.
Oh, I know. I might have had 3 children. I look back and I wished I'd had more. But it wasn't going to be that way. But I think I would have liked to have had a third.
I'm thankful for some advice that somebody gave me, and I would say this too. Just do parenting how you do parenting, and don't try to follow other people's philosophies. But the Lord's given you this child to steward, and you have to do it to the best of your ability. And I think that's something that I'm thankful I don't have to do differently now, that someone kind of gave me a heads up on. But just really settling into who you are as a parent and just embracing that, and not trying to be somebody else as a parent, and not trying to do somebody else's parenting style, but doing it the way that God's told you to do it.
Well, I thought about that as far as advice for people who are going to become, or women who are going to become moms. And I think there's just 2 categories. And the first category of women is, I want to say, quit worrying so much and trust your instincts, because you know more than you think you know. And the other half, I want to say, it's really time for you to grow up now, and it's not about you. It's really about this other life that you're responsible for.
When you're becoming a parent, everything that you do will be right to some people and wrong to some other people.
Yeah,
and if you go on the internet especially, you're going to feel like you don't know anything, even though you thought you knew exactly what you stood for. There's so many perspectives and strange things, and just such a spectrum. But you really have to trust your instincts, and you have to trust your love for your child and let that guide you. And remember that you always just have their best interests at heart, and let that be your guiding principle.
Well, my advice for women that are about to become mothers, first of all, is to get lots of friends around you that are in your same position, because it really helps to bounce questions off each other and find out where they are going and what you're doing, and just to have like, oh man, that baby is up every single night, what do I do? Just to get advice from other people. It's great. And then to enjoy your children. Like, just sometimes just sit down on the couch and soak them up. And don't worry about if the laundry is still piled up from 4 or 5 days ago, 2 weeks ago. Just soak up that baby. It's okay. Just take time with each child.
get a lot of rest early, and you know, follow your dream, because if your dream is that you are going to be in control, you might be able to have that kind of a baby. You might be able to do the things you want to do, but also you need to savor every step of their development, because I did home daycare for a long time, and I listened to moms talk about, oh, I can't wait till he can walk, or can't wait till she can crawl, can't wait till she can talk. And pretty soon they're 30 years old. You don't want to rush any stage of their development. You want to savor everything they do, because every step is precious.
I would say love the baby that you have, not the one that you dreamed of having.
It's so good.
You know, I think I have an angel baby, but at the same time, you know, I had so many expectations, you know, while I was pregnant, and I've had to make sure to let a lot of those go, because they kind of are unfair. For even though I have an amazing kiddo, you know, it's very different from what I had, the expectations that I had in my head. And so making sure that, you know, your expectations are that your kid is healthy and that you are happy with what you have.
At some point in teenage years, we went through a rough time, and I kind of thought the same thing. I said I had a movie in my head as to how my daughter's life was going to go, and she wasn't playing the part the way I'd planned it, and it was really hard to adjust my mental framework to understand that she was going to be who she was, and I had to be the one to adjust. Now, I couldn't be the one. I couldn't control who this teenager was going to be. She's back on script now, but in between, there's some hard times with that. Yeah.
Just relax and have fun. If there's poop smeared everywhere, and if there's toilet splashing, and there's food thrown all over the floor, just enjoy those moments instead of getting stressed and frustrated about them, because you'll probably look back later and hopefully in most situations be able to laugh. Maybe you won't, but hopefully.
I became a mother on June 8th, 1984, for the first time.
I became a mother on February 4th, 1985.
I became a mother on January 11th, 2013.
I became a mom May 22nd, 1978.
I became a mother on July 10th, 1985.
I first became a mom on April 10th, 2015.
And I became a mom on Tuesday night, actually Wednesday night, because she took a long time to come out, February 5th of 2014.
This is very vocal.